So I try a lot of golf shoes and I get a ton of questions here on the channel about the shoes that I'm wearing, asking me who makes them, what do I think about them, that sort of thing. So I just figured it was time for me to do a video on the best golf shoes, the ones that I have tried and used extensively here on this show. I don't generally review shoes when they're new because to me, it's like I gotta really wear them and feel them for a little bit and see how they stand up, how durable they are, all those sorts of things. So these are shoes that I've actually used extensively on course for weeks or even months at a time. Today I'm gonna break down my 4 favorites that I have tried here in the past year. So I'll show you what I love about these 4 pairs of shoes, and we'll also talk about some ways I think these 4 shoes could improve. I don't think there is the perfect golf shoe out there, but there are some that get pretty close, and for me these are at least the 4 closest. All right, let's start things off with a really important category for me. These are the shoes that I find to be the most comfortable. Comfort is such a big thing to me because I am out there running around, trying to play golf, trying to shoot videos, and the last thing I need is another thing on my mind when there's a million things going on out there on the golf course. For me, this year, the most comfortable shoes that I tried was Skechers, and in particular, the Go Golf Blades. These shoes retail for $165. They come in a variety of colors. They're a spikeless design, and they tout the fact on their website that these are slip-ins, which I must admit, I never tie my shoes. I just like to kind of go in and out because I'm moving again at a very quick pace in the mornings and the afternoons when I'm done. So I am not taking the time to tie and untie my shoes. So I really liked that factor about these particular ones. Now, I wouldn't say it's as easy as slipping into a pair of Crocs, for instance, but it's definitely much easier, so I really appreciate the technology there. I also like how padded the heel is. They call it a heel pillow technology, and I got to admit, a lot of times when I try new shoes on this channel, including some of my favorite ones, it takes a couple times to break them in, and generally the first day that I'm using golf shoes and on the golf course, I actually find I'm cutting the back of my heels a little bit. I'll have to put a Band-Aid back there. I didn't experience any of that here with the Go Golf Blades from Skechers, so kudos to them. As I mentioned, super comfortable. Now, in particular, I tried the Masters edition of these shoes, which features a Masters themed colorway. That green and white I thought looked great on the course. I'm generally wearing either blue or green in my videos if you've noticed, so these shoes definitely match a lot of my outfits. On the underside of these shoes, you can see this golf course inspired pattern, I think they call it, but it definitely is pretty cool, and the spikeless pattern gave me decent grip there out on course. All in all, these pretty much feel like you're walking on a cloud, and they're waterproof to boot, which is really important to me, again, because I'm shooting my videos in the mornings most time where it's really dewy, and then in Florida we get these afternoon rains, and so I'm often in wet conditions. These held up very, very well. Now, my cons to these shoes would be number 1, that they seem to trap heat a little bit more. And again, me being out here in Florida, I'm trying to stay as cool as possible. So that was one little bit of a drawback. The other drawback that I would say to these particular shoes is the fact that they are a premium price point. At $165, they're priced, at least in my opinion, towards the higher end of the market. But myself, and I think a lot of people would agree, maybe you don't see Skechers as a premium brand like some of the others that are gonna be here on our list. So it's definitely a more expensive shoe, but absolutely a comfortable one. I've enjoyed wearing them, and I will continue to be wearing them out there on course. Now, the next category on our list is most stylish, and the brand that we're gonna talk about, I have worn extensively on this show. And when you think of golf shoes, historically, style is probably not the first thing that comes to mind. Generally, they're more functional than stylish, and some might say golf shoes are downright ugly. But definitely over the years, things have started to change, and there's certainly some brands that I think are doing it right. Most notably for me, Ecco. And as I mentioned, I've probably worn Ecco lately more than any other brand. But this year's Biome H5 is by far my favorite from both an aesthetic and comfort factor. The MSRP on these is up there. It's $229. Ecco says these are inspired by the wild and rugged nature of the Scottish Highlands. They did look pretty sick out of the box with this rocky terrain looking pattern on the midsole. Now, as I mentioned, I wear a lot of blue on this show, and this colorway really pops for me. I also generally prefer white shoes. The reason is it kind of matches everything I'm wearing, especially this white Arnold Palmer hat or the Mere Mortal hat that you see me wearing. Those are pretty much my 2 staples in the wardrobe. But the problem with white, of course, is keeping them looking clean. Now, like all Eccos I've tried, these are very comfortable to walk in. Now, the fit here with these is a little bit snug for sure, which I think is subjective, but in this style, I actually do like it a lot. Now, Eccos are extremely waterproof, and even though they're so soft, my feet do stay super dry in those those dewy, wet mornings that I talked about. Now, if we take a look at the website here, there's a couple of technologies that Ecco specifically talks about here with the Biome H5s. They say it features Ecco Performance leather with a one-piece engineered knit sock for a modern, sporty aesthetic and all-day comfort. I'm going to talk to you about that knit sock here in just a second, but they also say that their Biome Natural Motion technology gives you that snug fit that I talked about, along with stability and forward momentum for power during the swing. I have absolutely noticed out on course that these, more than other Eccos, really give me a more grounded feeling out on the golf course. And I really like that, especially wearing spikeless shoes so often, you're going to miss some of that. And with these, at least they're doing their best, I think, with the spikeless design to keep you rooted. So let's talk about the pros and cons here for the Biome H5. The pros for me is absolutely that comfort. Just like the Skechers, they're right up there in terms of comfort, but they, again, really nail the style. And that leather that they use is really high quality, really durable, really pliable. In fact, with the Ecco shoes that I have used over the years, the leather will actually outlast the things in the midsole and on the sole, those kind of rubbery, plasticky parts, whatever they're made of. Those actually seem to break down before the leather. So the leather they use is second to none. Now, if we talk about cons with these shoes, that fabric material, that knit sock I talked about, while it's super comfy, it easily stains and it's hard to clean. All those little ridges that look so cool, those Scottish Highland patterned ridges, they trap a lot of dirt too. So these shoes actually end up looking the most worn and used, even though I haven't worn them for so long. And for the price you're paying, again, $229 is not cheap for a pair of shoes. You really want these to look good for a long time. So maybe if I had to do it all over again, I would not have chosen white after all, or it's not really a white, it's kind of an off-white, creamy looking color. I probably would have gone for a different color though, just because, again, that knit sock, it just starts to look old real quick. So that's the one big con here for me with the Biome H5. But all in all, fantastic, stylish shoes. Now, speaking of style, there's one fashion rule that my wife tells me I've got to adhere to out on the golf course, and that's to match my belt to my shoes. And I've got to tell you, I found the perfect golf belt. It's from a brand called Arcade Belts, and their newest design, the Momentum, is lightweight, breathable, and crazy comfortable. The Momentum belt is super stretchy. On a golf course, there is literally nothing worse than feeling stiff, and this one moves with you. And because it's so malleable, it's kind of like one size fits you all the time. I'm never searching for a belt hole, and I never have to open up a notch if I have a big meal or cinch it tighter if I'm feeling lean and mean that day. Honestly, I don't even feel it. The buckle itself is weightless, it's thin, and again, just makes it easier for me to move around. At first, I thought the way that it attached was a little strange, but after using it a bit, I actually prefer the way it snaps right in. I don't have to buckle it in, I don't have to worry about how much extra material is hanging out, tucking it into one of the loops on the side, or any of that stuff. The extra material is hidden on the inside, so it's just easier to fasten, detach, and fasten again. This summer has been crazy hot. In fact, Tampa, for the first time ever, reached 100 degrees, and it was like 1,000,000 degrees if you were talking about the heat index. But that was a big first here, and I actually played golf on that particular day. And with this belt's construction, with its webbing, it's much more lightweight and breathable. It keeps me way cooler out on course. And for me, just staying cool and comfortable helps me focus on the most important thing, which is testing these golf clubs and technology for you out there. My mind's focused on playing my best, giving these clubs the best test, and I don't need any more distractions because there is a ton of distractions out there on the golf course. This belt feels out of the way, but it stands out. It's literally the perfect travel belt too, since not only does it look good on and off the golf course, but the buckle is metal free, so you don't have to remove it at TSA checkpoints. You can just walk right through the scanner, which is nice. Now, Momentum has a number of colors and styles on their website, so you'll have no problem matching them to your shoes. And my second favorite has to be the Future Weave. There's a bunch of modern colors that really go well, again, with what I'm wearing out there on course. The Momentum belt is available at arcadebelts.com. I highly recommend you check it out. And you might also want to check out their Lifestyle Belt Kit, which includes both the Momentum and Motion Lifestyle belts, and it saves you $13 versus buying them separately. With those two belts, you will never need another belt again. All right, let's go on here to the third category, and for me, that is most durable. We talked about the durability of the Ecco shoes, but there's actually a shoe that I found did it even better. For me, that is the True Golf Linkswear True Original, which is $189 at MSRP. These are incredibly stylish shoes that have been around for close to a decade now, which makes me feel really old, I've got to say. But I think the design still holds up. The philosophy of the True Linkswear brand is that they want to make shoes you can wear on and off the course. And while I'll probably only wear them off the course if I stop into the grocery store and pick up some milk, I like the fact that I could potentially do that. And if there was any golf shoes I would wear off the course, it would be these for sure. And now that I'm thinking about it, I've actually done yard work in these shoes. Any golf shoe really is a great shoe for yard work because it gives you good grip and it's waterproof if you think about it. But I could absolutely see myself trekking around a hiking trail in these, being as they're so comfy and just, again, super waterproof. So now let's get into the pros here of the True Originals. For me, I'm a person that has wide feet, and because these kind of have a toe box that flares out, it makes it so super comfy. I don't feel like I'm being restricted at all. The other thing I really like about the True Originals is just how easy to clean they are. These are like the one black pair of shoes I have in my arsenal, but they look today just almost as good as brand new when I took them out of the box. And I've used these for now, I think, almost a year and a half. Nice thing about these is there was no discoloration after all that time either. And I'm talking about the black leathery part on top, as well as the sole itself stayed nice and crispy white. So of all the shoes I've tried, these look new the longest by far. Now the cons of these shoes is that now we're a year and a half in, the shell is starting to wear down a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of cracking in the creases there where my toe actually bends the leather. But like I said, they're a year and a half old and I've used them quite a lot out there on the course. Another con I would say is that while the grip is decent, it could probably be improved. I think maybe with a different pattern or a different material, that would just help give you a little more grip there with the surface while you're swinging. It's not bad, but it definitely could be improved. And in fact, while I was browsing their website, it looks like the OG3 Pros look like they do have a different pattern, so I'd honestly love to try those. But those are my only drawbacks of these. Really strong contenders, again, on and off course. Now, the last category in the list is going to be the best performance golf shoe. These are the ones that I feel give me the best chance to shoot my best out on a golf course. And for me, that's gonna be the Phantom Golf Form 1 spiked shoes. These are $192 at MSRP, so kind of in the middle of the shoes that we've been covering here today. Now, it's the only shoe on this list that actually has a spike, but those spikes are a part of the tech packed inside these shoes. In fact, I learned the hard way to listen to the advice from the card in the box that says to make sure to tighten these spikes before you play. And it literally comes with a wrench and a set of extra spikes included. At least that was included in my box. And I highly recommend you do torque down on those spikes, otherwise you'll lose a spike out there like I did. Luckily, I picked it up and I used the wrench to get it back in there. But take my advice, do that here before you use them. Once they were in, I had no problems. Now, one of the co-founders of this brand is a fellow golf content creator. His name's Gabe Gallucci. He has a YouTube channel. You might see him on Instagram or some of the other social networks out there. So I'm sure he knows a thing or two about what makes a good golf shoe. These shoes have the most stability and traction by far. The whole goal of these shoes really is to help you generate more ground force. And by doing so, they say it's actually going to help you increase your swing speed. If you look at their website, there's a lot of different technologies working in the heel, the midsole, and the perimeter of these shoes. I will say the wings on the side of these shoes are the most notable, and it definitely helps me feel much more locked into the shots. In my own anecdotal experience, I can tell you I gained 1 to 2 miles per hour of club head speed using these shoes, so it's not just all marketing hype. I found the traction to be best in class, and that's to be expected from these deep spikes. The other good thing is you're not sacrificing comfort for the performance here either. The materials used are soft around your feet, and there's even a memory foam insole there so you can get a little bit more comfort. Let's get into the pros and cons of these shoes. Again, the major one is the ultra stability throughout the golf swing. The spikes, they really ground me, and these shoes, honestly, are just very eye-catching. These are some of the most commented on shoes that I've worn on this channel because that bright orange pops. The cons to these shoes are they are pricey at $192. This is an investment in golf shoes for sure. Now, the second con on my list is these are on the heavier side. They're not the heaviest shoes by any way, shape, or form, but they're certainly not the lightest. There's some lighter shoes here. I think all the other shoes on this list are probably going to be significantly lighter feeling on your feet. Again, I don't think that got in the way at all, but something I've got to mention here. So there is my list of my 4 favorite golf shoes that I've tried here in the last year. I am always looking for more shoes to try. So if there's a particular pair that you've had experience with that you think I should try, please do me a favor and leave me a comment down below. What's been your favorite here over the years? I hope you've enjoyed this video. As I mentioned, check out Arcade Belts, and I'll catch you back here next time on another edition of Let's Play Through.